Hello friends, and welcome to this channel on Great Saints. And today we consider whether these recent phenomena, these geomagnetic storms, the Aurora Borealis, should we be attaching any significance to them at all? Is there any precedent to these sort of phenomenon? Being from a message from God, yes or no? And are we somehow due for a warning? Let's have a look at these things now, and especially considering that certain commentators have specified these aurora are in fact greater in magnitude than they have been in living memory. So is there something in this? And yet when we look at these aurora, how beautiful they are, indicate something of God's creative imagination. Is there any precedence in history that these could be warnings? And here we can think right back to the 10 plagues. All of these involved natural phenomenon, and yet God was warning the Egyptians. This time around, the aurora have been seen as far south as Texas and southern Florida, even Mexico City. So all over all continents, these phenomena were seen. Can they be taken as portents or omens of something that's about to happen? And of course, what springs to mind immediately is how Sister Lucia in 1938, she recognized these lights in the sky as the looming chastisement. World War II was about to begin. And this was January 1938. When she saw this light in the sky, she immediately realized that this was what Our Lady had predicted, that war was imminent. The book, The Secrets of Fatima, explains it very differently. This aurora, as I say, appeared as far south as Galicia in Spain, where Sister Lucy was cloistered, and further on in Europe, Pope Pius XI, he also saw this aurora in the sky, and it was noted that there was this audible crackling sound associated with these lights in the sky, possibly attributable to discharges of atmospheric energy. And indeed, in many parts of Europe, panic broke out as the populace concluded that the world was now coming to an end. The lights were clearly seen as well, the article tells us, in Spain, Italy, even Gibraltar, and the globe-bathing snow-clad mountain tops in Austria and Switzerland were a beautiful sight. And once again there, the firemen were called out to chase these non-existent fires. So that was definitely created quite a stir. That sounds, however, to me on a different scale, because there people were able to hear the crackling of the aurora. On the other hand, as Joe McLean said, we have to learn to read the signs of the time, looking at some prophecies that relate directly to aurora, to these signs of the times. The first would of course be the preeminent one, which is the Fatima, or the Fatima visions. But many years before that, 430 years ago, there was another well-known mission of Our Lady. Our Lady of Good Success appeared to a nun there, Sister Mariana de Yeso Torres. And here are some of the statements that she brought. Our Lady said, unbridled passions will give way to a total corruption of customs, because Satan will reign through what Anthony Stein calls the stone cutter sects, targeting the children in particular to ensure general corruption. Our Lady continued that the sacrament of matrimony, which symbolizes the union between Christ and the Church, they're going to target it for that reason, because of the symbolism. It will be thoroughly attacked and profaned. And these same stonecutters, she says, then reigning, will implement all sorts of iniquitous laws aimed at extinguishing this sacrament. And they will make it easy for all to live in sin, thus multiplying, as Our Lady says, the birth of illegitimate children without the Church's blessing. Our Lady's words. And the sacrament of holy orders will in fact be ridiculed, she said, oppressed and despised. And the devil will work to persecute the ministers of the Lord in every way possible, using all of his cunning to corrupt them. And those who are corrupted, they will scandalize the Christian flock and will bring upon all priests the hatred of bad Christians, mediocre Christians who don't look deep into things, and the enemies of the one holy church. And this apparent triumph of Satan, Our Lady says, will cause enormous suffering to the good pastors. She adds, she continues, the small number of souls who will secretly safeguard the treasures of faith. It'll be this very small number. They will suffer a cruel persecution, an unspeakable and long martyrdom. And unhappy times will come wherein those who should fearlessly defend the rights of the church will instead be blinded and will lend their hand to the enemies of the church. Our Lady describes elsewhere, in those times the atmosphere will be saturated with the spirit of impurity, which like a filthy sea will engulf the streets and public places, and innocence will scarcely be found in children or modesty in women. And Our Lady adds that unfortunately he who should speak seasonally will remain silent. So I'm sure you'll agree that on many of these predictions she was spot on. These are the signs of the times. So what can we do about all of this? All is not lost, because Our Lady was sent to give us these messages. And she advises, pray constantly, implore tirelessly, and weep bitter tears in the seclusion of your heart, beseeching the Eucharistic heart of the Most Holy Son to take pity on his ministers and to end as soon as possible these unhappy times. And by sending, he's going to end this, she says, by sending to his church the prelate who will restore the spirit of her priests. Right now, for you and I, the hope in this situation, she adds, when evil seems triumphant and the authority abuses its power, committing all manner of injustice and oppression of the weak, their ruin shall be near, and they will fall and they will crash to the ground. And finally, Our Lady adds, then will the church, joyful and triumphant, like a young girl, reawaken, be reinvigorated. So we're waiting for those times with a lot of hope in our hearts. We do encourage you to join this Great Saints Apostolate. Do make sure that you're subscribed to our channel, and you're very welcome to add comments and to share these videos with others. We'd also like to make it a special mention, a special thanks to all of our donors who make all of these short videos possible.